Howdy, howdy, Suitable here. Just coming to you to talk a little bit about the Shadow and the Blade DLC that was announced today, with specific focus on how it will affect the Dowie in the upcoming patch cycle. So, first of all, I think this is going to be a fun DLC. It's going to be interesting. It looks like they got lots of interesting units. Which is good news. I'm sure they're going to have great art as they always do. The bad news is this is going to be a rough patch for the Dwarfs. Now, the last patch, the two groups that were buffed were focused was Empire and the Lizardmen, and I think the Dwarfs have a strong advantage versus Empire and have an advantage, if not an equal matchup versus the Lizardmen. So it was a pretty good patch for the Dowie because we got really the most popular factions out there that were played a lot. The Dwarfs match up quite well against. This is definitely not the case. Dwarfs don't match up well against the Dark Elves, and they don't match well against the Skaven, and it's just going to get worse. There's a few key units that are going to make this patch a little bit rough, and you're going to see a lot as the Dwarfs, and then some units that's hard to tell. That said, now's the time to, if you like the challenge, you like the fight, you like figuring things out, how are you going to deal with this? This is your time. Now, I will go over a few of the units that I think are going to be really critical in this lineup from like Malice Darkblade. It's hard to say. These Medusas I don't think are going to be a big deal. This guy, Snitch or whatever his name is, Snitch, it doesn't really matter. He may be important, he may not, but one of the things is you will see him as the Dwarfs, and you will see Malice Darkblades as the Dwarfs, because this is typical where if something like a hero that might not be that great against all other factions are often brought against the Dwarfs. Like you'll see Grimgor Ironhide as the Dwarfs because people want to play Grimgor, and they can really find their way to bring him against the Dwarfs. Queek Headtaker, you don't see Queek very often, but as the Dwarfs you do see him reasonably often because he can actually perform quite well versus the Dowie. And that'll be the case with Malice Darkblade. Who knows? He might be good. He might not be good. I mean, if you do see Malice, you're probably going to see him with the Sorceress of Beasts and, sort of the usual suspects, Harpies and Harganeth Executioners, and, something in between to cause you some problems. It's hard to say. Like, generally, Lokir Felheart is plenty tanky enough to deal with the Dwarfs. Same with even Marathi with her spells, and of course Malekith with his chariot are very good against the Dwarfs. I think the big thing is going to be for the new units here is not the Bloodrack Medusa Scourge. The new chariot's anti-large, so we're probably not going to see it. We might see the Bloodrack Shrine. I doubt we're going to see a lot of Medusas because they're ranged. They're probably going to be in that mid-range, which the Dowie are going to eat alive. Like Dwarfs are gonna have no problem, and they might be large. Well, it looks like they're gonna be large too, which is even worse. The unit that's gonna be rough is going to be the Crows of Cain, this Regiment of Renowned Harpies. Now, Harpies are already outstanding against the Dwarfs because they can shut down your back line, but a group of Harpies that can regenerate and has even better stats and can last even longer disrupting your backline is going to be tough. So, you look at this lineup, you can add that Regiment of Renown, and possibly, we'll see how the hero does, because you're always going to be able to run Lokir Felheart, you're always going to be able to run Malekith or Marathi, you can bring Crone Hellbrand. Like, the Dark Elves have lots of options against the Dwarfs, and you're going to continue to see Harganeth Executioners, Harpies, and now, really, I think this new Regiment of Renown is going to be a very strong pick against the Dwarfs, and it's going to make this matchup harder. And it's hard. I believe it's Harpies that make this matchup the hardest. I know there are some other good tools that the Dark Elves have, but Harpies being able to shut down your range department makes a big difference, whether you bring cannons, whether you bring thunders, or whatever you bring in the backline, Trollhammer torpedoes to try and shut things down. Harpies are so disruptive because they got that great melee defense at 38 for a unit with 600, and they can always land in there with 45 models and just shut you down. They don't have great leadership, but this Regiment of Renown is going to have good leadership. probably 70. You know, if I'm guessing a regiment renown, 70 leadership plus it regenerates. It's just going to be able to sit on top of your units and last forever. And that one of the reasons harpies last for a long time is even though they don't have good armor, they're not large, so slayers can't wipe them out real fast, stuff like that. So I think this is going to be a real struggle for the Dowie. It's going to make a tough matchup even tougher. And also there are some dwarf players out there that actually enjoy this matchup. They think it's really a good fun fight. And for those of you that kind of feel that way, it's going to be a little tougher, but it'll be fun to try and make good builds to deal with the Dark Elves. Now, again, Skaven are already hard to deal with. Not unbeatable, but they're hard to deal with, and they're just going to get better. Now, how this Deathmaster Snitch, and it looks like they got a new, like an Eshin Sorcerer, is the Art of Silent Death, so a new school of magic. Hard to say how that's going to do. The Silent Death, I imagine, has something to do with making things hard to spot. It's not really as valuable against the Dwarfs generally because the Dwarfs are static, not super dynamic, and you know, if really the only thing, you know, things can sneak up on you, but you're used to that because you're always used to playing against Death Runners as the Dwarfs. People always bring them, not always, but most of the time they'll bring 1 or 2 units of Death Runners, so you got to expect them in your back line. It's going to be more of the same for the most part. We'll see how Deathmaster Snitch is. I doubt he's going to be much better against the Dwarfs than Quick Head Taker, but I mean, reduce target armor by 50%. Okay, Vanguard deployment stock, you're going to see him. People are going to want to play him, and they're going to play him against the Dwarfs. Now, the interesting units, I don't know how these Eshin Triads are going to be. The Poison Wind mortars and Death Globe mortars, it'll depend on their range. Like, are they going to be like a version of the Warplock Giselles? But their mortars, are they gonna have like 350 range and be mobile like these? Because mortars typically have longer range than sort of, you know, cannons and stuff like that. Like if we go and sort of pick up Empire, you'll see, I think they have longer range. They're just not as accurate. But they're usually easy to shut down. So if you look at mortars have a range of 380, and I guess cannons have 450. So, you know, maybe they're going to be above that. These mid-range units, though, like 275, 300, they are a little harder to deal with, but they can be dealt with. The thing is, they're going to be bringing a regiment of renowned Death Runner. Death Runners are already commonly picked in this matchup and very good against the Dowie, as a 1 or 2 of, and now you're going to see a regiment renown in that spot, which is going to be even better for the Skaven. And, you know, these mid-range mortars, are they going to be good? Are they not going to be good? I don't know. It'll be tough to see, but if you look, I mean, Poison Wind Globadiers have armor piercing, although they have magic damage. Death Globe Bombardiers, again, armor piercing. Will these mortars be significantly armor piercing? I don't know. I mean, if they're magical damage and not armor piercing, it's not going to be a big deal. If they are armor piercing and magical damage, kind of the same as the Death Globe Bombardiers, which I would guess they are, it'll be hard to say because it's going to be all to do with their range and accuracy. They could represent something tough to deal with, and sort of a 1 or 2 of, where, you know, if they have 320 range or something like that, they can stay out of the range of your quarters or your backline and just sort of bomb them. So hard to say how that's going to turn out. The one thing is for sure is that the Skaven are going to get better because they're going to have more choice. They're going to be harder to deal with, and how these regiments are renowned, like the Ishkas Triads. Yeah, hard to say. Are these going to be like an armor-piercing anti-infantry unit? They're good at attacking and retreating. I don't know. They're super fast. They can summon decoy. The decoy is not really going to matter, you know, I think, but we'll see. I think really, though, this is going to be a tough patch for the Dwarfs because you're going to be facing 2 factions that have an innate advantage against the Dowie, and, you know, you're going to see them a lot because that is the DLC. That's what we saw. I saw a lot of Empire, saw a lot of Lizardmen, which wasn't really that bad as the Dowie because, I mean, they're got an advantage there, and you're going to be able to play hard. This is not the case. So if you're a dwarf player that loves the challenge, that likes being the underdog, and that's sort of your thing, I think this is the patch for you. There's going to be non-stop tough games against Skaven and Dark Elves, and you will be able to hone and refine your build forever and ever. And if you are not looking forward to these matchups that you like or don't like I struggle against the Dark Elves. I don't really enjoy playing against them. The Skaven are fun. The Skaven are hard. I feel like it's weird. I find the Skaven really hard but fun to play against because it seems to be a little more strategic, whereas the Dark Elves are just a little different. I have lots of wins against Dark Elves, but I find them the top builds as Dark Elves to be so crushing to play against, but that's just me. I know there's some Dwarf players who love playing against Dark Elves. Anyways, looks like it's going to be a really tough patch for the Dwarfs. We're going to have lots of good competition and lots of new fun units to figure out how to beat. And, it should make the holiday season coming up really fun to find some time to get on your computer and play some Total War Warhammer. Anyways, I hope you found that interesting, and I will see you soon.